All right, and we are live. Feels good to be back on another episode of the Inner Circle podcast. Lots of things to talk about this week. Big shout out to Acre V wherever you are. Hopefully, you're having a good time tonight. Hopefully, we can catch you next week whenever you return. We got the crew with us tonight, and we got a special guest with us, so I'm very excited about that. We're going to break down a lot of things happening with Xbox, things going on in the Xbox universe, as well as gaming universe as well. A lot of things to talk on. But before we jump into that, I always want to try to get into what everybody is playing. So, B, what you been playing lately, man?
Mostly just Destiny 2, man. Just really on that Forsaken grind, trying to get to power level 400 before Forsaken drops, and then just been playing a lot of 2K. 2K season is upon us, man. Next couple weeks, 2K will be out, so just revving up for that.
You're not picking up live? I seen live graphics, bro.
Yeah. I've been playing Live 18, man. Just trying to get a feel for the game again. I bought it when it was like $5, sometime earlier, like this year, late last year, and just try to get in there and see if I could, really get down with it. And it's got some potential, man. And then a lot of stuff that they've been putting out lately, I've been keeping my eye on. So we'll see what Live does once it drops, man. I think their demo actually comes out next week on the 24th, I believe. So I'll definitely check it out.
That's what's up. I played a little bit of Live when it was like on EA Access, and I really enjoyed it. I didn't get a chance to play 2K. Last 2K I played was 2K16, which was cool. The mechanics from 2K16 to 2K17, at least the shooting was a bit different, and it completely threw me off.
Oh yeah, every year they switch it up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
They're switching up again this year, so it's definitely have a different learning curve, every year.
Gotcha. Will, what you been playing, man?
Madden, just Madden 19.
That's it.
How are you enjoying it, man? How are you enjoying it?
You want to be honest? uh, it's like the same to me, honestly. I mean, well, as far as the running play with the running back, basically, you can't just how do I put this? You can't just hold the turbo button basically and try to take off. Why not? You can't do it that way. Just just take off basically. Then you can hit the turbo, then go where you want to go basically on that. Just a big Patriots fan, and I love it basically. That's just other than that, that's it.
Man, we already on different pages. You a Patriots fan? I'm a Chiefs fan. This ain't gonna be a bad night, man. This gonna be a bad night already. Jeez.
I mean, we could close this one time. How about that?
I need Brady to retire now. We gotta go, man. It's time. We got Darnold. Darnold need to get it together. Sit him for a year so we can take over this division. Tired of watching this team win for like 12 seasons. It is our fault in the first place that he's even starting. So that makes sense.
Right.
That's funny stuff, though.
Yeah.
Sam, what's up with you, man? What you been playing?
Oh man, not much. I'm kind of breathing in the relaxation period, the calm before the fall storm. I was actually hitting up my dudes earlier today, Jared and Nick. I was like, yo, we have got to get organized for the fall review season, or we're going to get swamped because it's going to be crazy. We may or may not already be working on some stuff as far as the big reviews come up there. But for me, I've mostly just been playing Halo Wars 2, actually. I had a couple of friends get into it recently due to Game Pass, and I'm like, yeah, I'm always up for Halo Wars 2. Let's go. So I've been playing a ton of that. It's a lot of fun. 343 and Creative Assembly did a good job providing post-launch support, new leaders and stuff. I wish they kept it going for a long time, but for an RTS, like supporting it for well over a year, that was pretty good, all things considered. So now I'm just that's pretty much it for me. That and Sea of Thieves Curse sales. I've been continuing to do that event, getting the cosmetics and different commendations and stuff like that.
Right. Well, you know me, man. I'm stuck right now. I haven't really picked anything up, started anything, played anything. I'm just sort of like in limbo. Been playing Destiny here and there a bit. Not so much that I'm falling out of the Destiny mood. It's just that I've been trying to do the Solstice thing, and it's so tedious and grindy. It's very annoying. And it's like once I start something, I gotta play it. I gotta finish it. So it's kind of it's a bit frustrating in that some of the things that I need to do, I actually need help for. and most of the people that I normally would play with are no longer playing. So I got to use like the looking for group feature, which I've never used before. So it's kind of weird for me. I definitely want to try to get into this JRPG season, though, man. I want to get Tales of Vesperia whenever that drops. I'm on the fence for Shining Resonance. There's a few other titles that I'm looking at as well. I'm definitely hyped for Tomb Raider. Seen a lot of people beefing on Twitter about Spider-Man and Tomb Raider.
Oh,
and
nonsense! Utter nonsense.
It's definitely.
I don't know.
It's a weird situation because I just look at it from the perspective of if you have a PlayStation and that game is on there, buy it. If you're an Xbox guy and you have a PlayStation, buy it. If you don't have a PlayStation, don't stress yourself out about it. It's a game, it's cool. It's just not, you're not able to play it until you're able to pick up a PS4. And that's what that's all about. I know a lot of fans out there get frustrated because they're like, man, it's always been multi-plat, this, that, and the third. And I get it. And I'm sure that's how guys felt with Tomb Raider when it was initially announced as an exclusive. But at the end of the day, man, I think people are really up in arms about nothing. I think the PlayStation crowd are definitely blowing some of the fans of Xbox way out of proportion about how desperate they are about wanting this game. And I think that some of the fans on the Xbox side maybe go too far in not recognizing what Sony has done to secure the game exclusively. But that's just how this game works. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you're going to get exclusives from third parties, and you're going to want them, and you're not able to get them until you pick up the platform for it. Me personally, I like Spider-Man in the movies, and I like Spider-Man in the comics. I'm not a fan of the games. I've only played one Spider-Man game, and I think that was the one where you sort of play multiple different Spider-Man through different eras, like the black and white Spider-Man.
Shadow Dimensions.
Shadow Dimensions. Yeah, that one was fire. But I'd never play any other Spider-Man besides that. And for me, I have no hype for this game whatsoever. Like, I'm not interested in it. More so, I'm more interested in Tomb Raider, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, because I actually really love playing the first two. I thought they were excellent games. I'm really excited about it. So that's my game sort of for the fall, besides Red Dead Redemption as well, that I'm really hyped for. So we'll see how it all, it pans out. It's coming out in the next couple of weeks, and hopefully it's successful. And Insomniac has a hit on their hands, and we can see more games from Insomniac hit, both platforms in the future. So let's go ahead and get the show started. We got a lot to discuss tonight. We're going to talk about the Washburn controller. We'll talk about Bethesda games. We'll talk about Ready at Dawn. We'll touch on Forza and licensing. And we'll try to jump into if Microsoft should look at Rare to make a new platformer. So let's get the show started. Here we go. Welcome to the Inner Circle Podcast, the premier podcast for Xbox. I'm your host, Kerwa SKLL, with Direwolf 484.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
B Money 101.
Hey, everybody. What's going on?
And special guest, William.
What's good, everybody?
So listen, man, I'm really excited about what Microsoft has coming up at Gamescom. We spoke about this last week. I was already talking about the Xbox Elite Controller 2 possibly showing up at Gamescom. B Money was trying to get me to settle my expectations. Bring them expectations down, because it's better to go in, as well as Sam as well was saying, it's better to go in thinking that there's nothing going to be shown up than thinking or expecting something's going to show up and then being disappointed. But it seems that there's been some sort of rumor or some news that has coming out that the codename Washburn controller, which is supposed to be the new Elite Controller 2, is going to be at Gamescom. And I look at it from the perspective that I truly believe if this controller launches this year, that the next Xbox will be bundled with the original Elite controller. That will be the next evolution of the Xbox One controller. It will be the new Elite controller. It will be bundled in with the next Xbox, and the Washburn controller will be the new Elite controller that you would purchase. Because I just can't see having two of these controllers on the market, both at high value, one being better than the other, and then still not looking at it from the perspective of trying to keep the Elite controller as a, excuse me, as a, like a, what's what I'm looking for? Like a high value valuable accessory. You know what I'm saying? When you have the Elite controller out there, no one's going to go for the first tier when you have a second tier that's better than the first tier out there. So it seems more likely that they may bundle the first Elite controller with the next Xbox controller for the next platform. And in my opinion, if they don't make it that Elite controller, maybe they make an updated version of that Elite controller with Bluetooth and everything that they're going to put in the next one. But I'm trying to really figure out what will be the major differences between the two, and does that sound reasonable for the next Xbox platform to have an Elite controller as a regular base controller for the platform?
Do any one of you guys have an Elite controller?
I do myself.
No.
Yeah.
You have the original one?
Yeah, of course.
Did it break on you at all?
No, it did not break, actually. The only thing that happened for me is after about 8 months, the rubber grips, the glue came loose, and so those came off. Other than that, it still functions perfectly. But
Okay.
the grip thing was annoying, but it doesn't impede the functionality. You know, I can still use it perfectly fine.
Okay. Well, I had a Gears Elite controller. I pre-ordered it when they announced the Gears Elite controller. It cost me about $230. Had it for a couple of months, and then the left bumper broke.
Oh,
So I contacted Microsoft, and they were like, "Oh, well, you can get a replacement controller. You can send it in, or you can go to the Microsoft store, and they can, swap the controller out for you." So I went to the Microsoft store and tried to swap it out, and they're like, "Well, we don't have the Gears controller, but we can give you the regular Elite controller." And I was very disappointed, you know what I mean, because the Gears Elite controller is badass. If you haven't seen it,
It's
take
awesome.
a look at it online. You know what I mean? It's a great controller. And so I got back home, called the Microsoft hotline or whatever, and tried to see if they would have a Gears replacement Elite controller, and they didn't. So I ended up selling my Gears Elite controller because like the way the button was broken, like it really couldn't be fixed. So I just sold it on eBay and ended up getting a regular Elite controller. And for some reason, like that controller, like the triggers don't function very well for me for some reason. So my Elite controller just pretty much sits on the shelf right now. So I'm hoping that the second Elite controller made some vast improvements, because I've talked to a lot of people who have Elite controllers, and they've kind of seen some of the same things that I did with my Elite controller. So I'm guessing that's one of the major reasons why we're going to see this revision. But as far as it, coming out with the next Xbox, or them going to put the original Elite controller in the box, I would prefer if they put the Elite 2 in there. And just discontinue the original Elite controller.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Do we honestly need another controller? I mean, I'm just asking. Do
I'm
we
not
really?
opposed. Really, I'm not.
Right.
I think what Microsoft does well, you know what's funny about the whole thing with the controllers? I know a lot of people complain about it. It's its own division, right? And I think people get confused sometimes. Not saying you will, but just some
Right.
people out there may get confused, because a lot of times they be like, why are they making controllers? They need to make games.
Yes.
Not understanding that there is a completely different division with its own budget for games. And it's like, okay, we're going to go. It's just ironic to think that someone's going to say, you know what? We want to make a new game. We don't have no money over here in the games division. We're going to go ahead and take $5 million from the controller division so we can make money. Like, that logic doesn't make sense. It's not an entire budget for the entire thing, and that's how it spreads out. Everything has its own budget, and that's how things work. I think I look at the way Microsoft looks at controllers, and it's so funny because it's like an American thing where people are obsessed with sneakers. You got sneakerheads, and there's people out there that get all types of different types of sneakers, and they collect them and stuff like that. And that's the one thing I give Microsoft compared to any other platform is what they do with their controllers. I'm not saying that the investment in games shouldn't be there, but it's much easier to make a basic inside of the controller, which is what you already have, but then turn around and just drop a skin on top of the controller and just put it out to the public and sell it. It's easier to manufacture, it's easier to produce, and it doesn't take a lot of funding to do it. And people gobble it up. And I guarantee you, if PlayStation was doing the same thing or if Nintendo was doing the same thing, people would go crazy. I remember seeing when the Joy-Cons first came out, everybody was talking about the colors. Those were just colors. You know what I'm saying? They didn't even have no designs on them. They were just colors, and people were going crazy over the Joy-Cons in different colors. So, it's just a bit hypocritical, in my opinion, to some of the people who are like, oh, they making another controller. Like, it's not for you, dude. It's for the people out there who buy the controllers and collect them. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Gamer Addict, who had tons of Xbox controllers and used to show them off every single controller that he had in his collection. And I thought that's pretty cool, man. I thought that was cool. So I don't have a problem with them making controllers. If that's Microsoft style and that's what they want to do, they understand that there's a base for it. People collect them, and it's cool with me. But I don't think people understand the way video game investment works, and I think they just want to use it as a bullet point, honestly. But what was you going to say, Sam?
I was just going to say, so Thurrott followed up his statements, because he was the one who initially said, hey, there's a $150 controller launching in October, codenamed Washburn. He's now saying that he's hearing it's not the Elite version 2. Now, on the one hand, that lines up with what some of us were saying. Like, I know B and I had been talking about how it's kind of late in the gen to do an Elite 2. Why not just do it at launch? Cal, you were saying the Elite needed to become the standard controller. But so I'm trying to wrap my mind around, if this $150 controller launching in October is not the Elite version 2, what the heck is it?
True that.
My understanding is
that
it
be updated controller company that always puts out controllers that's doing a PlayStation controller.
Oh, Scuff, you mean?
Yeah.
Scuff.
Why can't it be a Scuff controller? I mean, the partnership is with Scuff.
Maybe
but Scuff makes the Elite controllers,
right? So why can't they just make a different Scuff controller? They still make Xbox Scuff controllers.
Yeah, but I don't think they're gonna do that for Gamescom. Like, if it's made by Scuff and sort of like just licensed by Xbox compared to it actually being an actual. It seems weird to me to then have Scuff on stage just for another controller from Scuff. I think what Washburn is an upgrade to the Elite controller version 1. I was thinking it would be an Elite controller version 2, but if Sam is saying it's not, then it's probably a version 1. But like most people are saying, I'm hearing that it has Bluetooth, which the original didn't, and it has some other, gizmos and gadgets that could be added and some changes to it, better durability and stuff. I think the worst thing about the Elite controller I'm hearing is the warranty. It's like 3 months.
Oh my God.
The Elite Controller V2. If they upgrade it and they improve the build quality, they give it Bluetooth and all this stuff, that is the Elite version 2, unless I'm missing something here.
Well, I'm thinking the Elite version 2 would be a different controller. Not that slightly different, but maybe it has something button-wise that would be different on the controller that makes it significantly different compared to the other one, besides just having the, the button, not the button layout, but like just having the interchangeable buttons and stuff like that. Maybe you have some additional buttons, like instead of having your basic 4 buttons on the controller and like that cross pattern with the A, B, Y, X, you added 2 buttons on top to make it 6, kind of like the old school Sega controllers or the original Xbox controller. You added those 2 buttons on the right-hand side of the controller. You still have the sticks underneath. Maybe you added some different type of upgrade or whatever it is within the controller that the original doesn't have that really sort of separates it from the first version. Sort of just adding things to it like Bluetooth and stuff. It just seems like it shouldn't be announced as a new controller. Like, if you're just adding Bluetooth, but it's the same controller, it shouldn't be announced as like, oh my God, the Elite version 2. That's so generic. Just be like anything else you would update, like a new SKU. Like PlayStation does it all the time. They're like, oh, it's a new PlayStation. Nah, bro, it's just a new SKU. It's the same PlayStation. They just did something different to it to make it, you know what I'm saying? They have to put these new ones out and they discontinued the old ones because they added some type of feature to it, like Bluetooth or something like that. That's what they need to do.
So you expect the Elite controller to have different buttons, the Elite version 2?
I would hope that the Elite controller is not only an improvement on the first controller, but it also adds something physical to the controller that really separates it from the Elite version One controller. You know what I'm saying? Like the thing about the Xbox controller that I don't think is good for, there's two things that I don't like the Xbox controller for. Well, mainly one, and it's fighting games. Still to this day, I still don't think the Xbox One controller is great for fighting games. And back in the day, we all use cross pads. Some people buy joysticks, but the PlayStation controller, for whatever reason, maybe because the cross pad isn't actually like, really, protruding from the controller itself, it still feels more comfortable and more fit to play with a PS4 controller than it does an Xbox controller.
Sure.
I normally use the analog stick to fight, and that's not ideal when you need pinpoint accuracy to get off certain moves and combinations. So for me, I would like to see a huge upgrade in what they're doing with the controller. I don't know why Microsoft continues to stick with it, like what they did with the original Elite controller with the dish.
Yeah.
When you were able to take out the cross pad and you could put the dish on, that seemed like it made more sense. But I would like a controller that's sort of like the old school Sega controller. Remember the old school Sega controller that had the big wheel on it and it had all the little dots on it. Like the Sega controller back in the day was perfect for fighting games. I remember playing Super Street Fighter Hyper Turbo Edition for hours on the Genesis. And I think that if Microsoft makes a new Elite controller, they should consider really making significant changes to the first.
So why wasn't the first Elite controller? Why wasn't that bundled with the X then? Instead of making a regular controller for the X, I guess whatever. But I'm just wondering why wasn't the Elite controller bundled with the Xbox One X? You know what I mean?
I think it would have just sort of drove the cost. Probably would have just drove the cost up. I mean, what's the controller selling for right now, B? You know?
The Elite controller sells for $150.
Right. So if you're selling that for $150, the Xbox by itself is already $500.
Right.
Throwing that controller in it's probably gonna push it to $600.
Yeah. I understand.
Yeah, you just can't do that. Yeah. Now it would have been cool if they threw it in with the S, because the S is already like $250, $300. You can still sell the S4 with the Elite controller or bundle it. I think it's something that Microsoft should consider with their next platform. Especially if you start selling things from, I think if you start selling things from a perspective of where you're like the next generation of Xbox is supposed to be the streaming box and this hardcore, benchmarking platform, like this hardcore benchmarking box. And I think if you really want to push people to buy this box that's going to be like $500 or maybe $400, putting a controller like the Elite controller in there with it as a standard controller would really set a standard for what you get when it comes with a platform. You know what I'm saying? Not to say it has to be the version 2. It can be maybe a lighter version of version 1 where the cost isn't as much, but definitely the under paddles. You got to add those under paddles on the next controller. I think the next iteration of the Xbox controller.
I think Will makes a good point though. I think it would have served them better to take the loss on the Elite controller, bundling it with the X. At least you get that in more people's hands. You know what I mean? That purchase the X, and then that gives you more incentive to take a look at the Xbox Elite too.
But don't charge them $600 though.
Right. They could have took the loss on it.
Right.
Just bundled it in the system, sold it for $500. Get it in more people's hands.
I don't disagree.
It would have served as an incentive for more people to take a look at the Elite too, because you got to think the Elite is still $150. So, Elite 2 comes out at $150. You know what I mean? If you have the Elite, are you really looking to get an Elite 2? Depending on how grave the improvements are. If it's just adding Bluetooth, is that enough for you to spend another $150 on a controller?
That's what I'm saying. Not for me. That's what
I figure in Elite 2, it has to come with more customization options, like maybe customizable triggers. And I'm thinking a share button as well.
Just a share button would be nice.
I agree.
Straight up rip it off. I don't care.
I agree.
Because the share button is used so much, it's not even funny.
A USB port in the controller would be nice.
Oh, that would be sweet.
And the reason why I'm saying that is because there's a lot of, the Xbox controller has built-in audio. This is one of the key features of the Xbox controller. So, like, they built audio into the controller, which is why we initially needed that puck back in the day. Then you wind up switching to the 3.5 millimeter jack. You no longer need the puck, but then they sort of change. You don't get certain volume adjustments on the fly. You can't mute things on the fly unless you have a microphone built for it or built with a little dial on it or something like that, or the puck comes with your next headset. Then you want to talk about surround sound. And I remember like back in the day when I had my original Turtle Beaches, you still had to go via Optimum out or USB in the back of the box. So that way the little dial would work and you would get that surround sound coming from the box. If they're able to, you have Dolby Digital, but I think if they're able to allow USB, so some of those connections that would only work from the back of the box will be able to work in the Xbox controller, that would be huge. One of the downsides of me having these headphones that I have on, which is the HyperX Cloud 2s, they have 7.1 digital surround sound. But that does not work on the Xbox at all. It doesn't work.
What?
I just get basic, Dolby Atmos, which is fine. But I don't get 7.1, which is what it uses. I get the 7.1 on my PC because of the sound card built through my motherboard, and then it also works on the PlayStation. When I plug it into the PlayStation, I get that on the PlayStation. So that's the one thing that I'll say that I think Microsoft should make an improvement on as well, is sort of add a USB port for headphones that have USB plugs into the controller as well. All right.
Someone, before we move on, just really quickly, a couple of people in chat actually point out, what if Washburn is actually a custom Forza wheel, racing wheel for Forza Horizon 4 that they're going to launch?
Man, that's tough. I mean, there's a lot of I don't know, why would you make so much noise? I mean, don't get me wrong, Forza is a huge game. It is, and it has a huge following. But why make so much noise for a steering wheel, for an accessory like that, which is not really universal? It's sort of built for, a particular class of games, right, compared to a controller, which is probably for everybody. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like announcing that Logitech has a new wheel coming out made by Xbox at Gamescom. I don't know if that's Gamescom worthy. Not to say that Gamescom is some big show, but I'm just saying I don't know if it's Gamescom worthy. So, I don't know. Me personally, I think that it's probably going to be some type of upgrade to the Elite controller, if not an Elite controller too. So we'll see. Gamescom's not that far away. It's right around the corner. I hope they show some more stuff besides just controllers. I tell you that much. I would like to see something, some games or something. We'll see what happens though. All right, let's jump on to the next topic. So shout out to Anchorman V, who has been talking about this for a very long time. We all know Anchorman is the fanboy of fanboys when it comes to Bethesda Studios. We cannot talk about how he will go to bat for Bethesda. I mean, he is such a fanboy that he made a bet that he wouldn't play Fallout for an entire year, or 6 months or something like that, which is pretty hard for him because he loves that game. He loves anything Bethesda puts out. So we talked a long time about Game Pass and how important Game Pass is to the market, how important Game Pass is for Xbox. And we always talked about how it would be really interesting to see if they were able to work with some sort of third-party company to start using their games on the Xbox platform. And if you're able to get more of those titles from these third-party partners, it really starts to make your platform look more valuable and more people will be invested in it. And it seems Bethesda has jumped all in on Game Pass with the release of Doom and previously Fallout 4. I just thought those were two huge titles that were still doing pretty well and still looked at as really good games that are on the platform and literally not that long after release. I think this is a big deal. I think Microsoft has a great relationship with Bethesda, and if they can continue to work with some of the developers that they have good relationships with, you could really start to see these third-party games coming out like movies on Game Pass, the way movies hit Netflix and HBO and all that stuff after they leave the rental and purchase stage. This is a big deal. And I don't think people recognize how important this is for the future of gaming as a whole. This whole thing could really change the way we play games, the way we look at games, the way we consume games, if Microsoft is successful with Game Pass over the next decade. What is your thoughts on that?
Bethesda is absolutely I'm sorry. Did you want to go ahead, dude?
No. I'm listening. Go ahead.
Bethesda is the MVP when it comes to Game Pass right now. They really are. They're supporting the ever-loving bejesus out of it. That's fantastic. I tell you what, out of all the major publishers, I still think that they're going to be the first ones to do something day and date. I don't know what game it'll be. I don't know when it'll be, but at this rate, you'll see something launch day and date, and it wouldn't surprise me, like, if there are games that don't come day and date, that they come just a short bit afterwards. Like Rage 2, even if it doesn't launch into Game Pass immediately, it'll be on Game Pass very shortly afterwards, or something like that. Because I think this really helps Bethesda, push marketing for their games that aren't Fallout or the Elder Scrolls, the ones that don't have that giant mass market appeal, particularly stuff like Arcane does, or Machine Works does, like Wolfenstein, Dishonored, Prey. They really should have sold a lot more. They put them in Game Pass, they can really market them a lot better.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that this relationship is a match made in heaven. And I think one of the reasons why it's so easy for Bethesda to kind of make this transition is because, like you said, with some of the other games that they have, with the Dishonored series and with Wolfenstein and things like that. Those games are primarily single player games, and Bethesda has talked about this many times about how they will continue to support the single player game experience. So and those games don't sell as highly as an Elder Scrolls game or a Fallout game. So it makes sense for them to put those games in the Game Pass and get more eyes on them, get more gamers playing them, and still, see some revenue from it. So I think this is something that will continue. And like Sam said, I think in the near future, Bethesda will probably release something day and date. And it'll probably be something, that's on a smaller scale. I wouldn't, expect it to be like an Elder Scrolls or anything like that. But, a Wolfenstein expansion or something like that, I could definitely see happening.
Yeah, like Wolfenstein Youngblood or whatever the next thing Arcane does.
Right.
That makes sense.
I think Bethesda and Microsoft, I guess they just been in business, I guess, together for a while, whatever. I think it'll work. They seem to do good business for each other and everything like that. So I think that'd be fine. The Game Pass thing, though, I get it. I understand why Game Pass is probably big now. And I think it's to put GameSpot out of business, basically. Because they are rip off evidently. But I'm like I said, I hear so much about this Game Pass thing, and it's new to me. It's probably new to a lot of us, and everything like that. But I just want them to focus on games, to be honest. But like I said, it's business wise, it's a smart idea. You can't beat it. $10. For a game. All your stuff in there, you can't beat that. So it's good. It's good. I have no problem with it too much. It's just I don't know. It's just game. I don't know. I'm just iffy right now with Game Pass right now. It just seems like the Game Pass, the controller.
Basically, what you want is to see games. You don't care about all this other stuff. You just want to see Microsoft produce some first party titles that's going to interest you.
You know what, Superman? I just want to sit in front of my TV, put my disc in, just whatever, and just go play. That's it. I ain't about anything more than that. That's it. I'm just old school. That's it.
I feel you. I was there with you. Trust me, for a long time, I was there with you. I'm an old school guy. I kind of consider myself a dinosaur. Me and B talked about that a couple months ago, or maybe a year or so ago, when they first introduced Game Pass. We thought about how does Microsoft maintain their identity when you're putting all your exclusives on this platform.
Correct.
And it doesn't seem like you're able to keep your identity as a platform holder when your exclusives are sort of multi-plat between PC and Xbox. But then over time, as we got to see the way that has impacted the platform, where the money has come in, I know a lot of people don't understand how the business side of it works and why there's a major difference between PlayStation and Xbox. And the way PlayStation functions is because PlayStation solely focuses on PlayStation. Like, Sony, I won't say Sony overall as a massive company, but PlayStation is now a large part of that company. Whereas Xbox, for a long time, was just a small piece of the pie of what Microsoft was. It's not until recently that where Xbox has really become a major division within the whole conglomerate of Xbox. And that's thanks to what Phil Spencer has done over time. And honestly, what Game Pass does for Xbox is, I had a conversation. I've been talking about this a long time. I'm not sure if you've heard this before, but I had a conversation with somebody at Xbox right before Gamescom. Right before E3, that had reassured me about everything that they were sort of going to be doing at E3. And when we were going back and forth, I was talking about how, Microsoft needs to invest in, single player experiences, and they need to figure out a way to invest in more Western RPGs. And I got schooled in that Microsoft has released more single player experiences this generation than any generation prior to Xbox One. And you really have to go back and look at what they've released over the generation to really look at all the single player games that they've released and compare it to what Microsoft, as both a first party and as a first party studio that is publishing as a first party game, and look at what they've released and compare it. And when you do, it's actually factually true. And that's when I had to take a step back and really think about what was I really talking about. It is not so much that the investment isn't there, it's that some of the things that they've invested in I just might not like, or this person may not like, or this person may not be be into. So it's more so about Microsoft making the right investments, not so much that they're not investing. And I think what Phil has done as far as really wiping the slate clean, getting rid of a lot of fat, trimming that down, and now you see where the investment is going. You got these studios coming out, and we're going to talk about Compulsion in a minute because I want to talk about Compulsion. But you got these studios they just purchased. I think if they had Lionhead, if they had the guys who made Matt's Curse of Brotherhood and all that stuff, we wouldn't have Ninja Theory. We wouldn't have the Initiative. I don't think any of those studios would be bought without wiping the slate clean and really starting from the beginning, me personally. And I think that this generation is a wash at this point. They're going to release their first-party games, Forza, Gears, Halo, maybe some indies, and all the new stuff that's going to be coming out will be on the next Xbox, on the next platform. And I think that's what it is. And I think Live and Game Pass will be the base for everything. So when they do invest in something big, if it doesn't sell well like a Quantum Break, or if it doesn't do big numbers like Sunset Overdrive, then you always have this bed to fall on of money. So that way the things that do fail aren't so bad. It's not like you're falling deep into a pit because you have Game Pass, you have Xbox Live, and all these things that's constantly bringing in cash flow that's going to break that fall. And I think a lot of people miss that. That's why Game Pass is important and stuff. But I do get where you're coming from. Without question. I get where you're coming from because, obviously Sony has invested. Even though early on in the generation, even their boss was like, yeah, games are scarce. I think a lot of people forget that. A lot of people forget that Yoshida said that games were scarce for PlayStation early on, and Xbox had all the games, and now it's sort of flipped tides. And that doesn't bode well for Xbox, and it doesn't bode well for people who are looking to trust Xbox. But, I mean, just looking at what they're going to do and what they have coming out, I think a lot of people are excited for what they have coming in the future. So I would just say, just hang on because you're going to be on a roller coaster soon enough.
Yeah.
So I just want to jump in and say that, is there any other third-party publisher that you think Microsoft could work out a deal with to bring in more games to their platform?
Focus Home Interactive.
Why does it have to be Focus Home? We talk about Focus Home every week.
Because
Focus Home has the best ideas, man. What are you talking about?
Exactly. Thank you,
So
B. Because all they need is some big hits. That's all. These guys are like helping out really creative devs. Who else? What other publisher is going to support a dev about a wisecracking goblin who makes jokes like Deadpool and goes around knifing elves? That's awesome. And no one else is going to do that. But they do. They are the ones who put out Vampire. Call of Cthulhu's coming up. A Plague Tale Innocence, Greedfall. Like, they just need some of these games to take off. And you know what else? Spoiler alert, what do you notice all these games have in common? They're all single player
games.
They're all single player games. Get them in Game Pass, more people will buy them, more money for Focus Home, more attention for Microsoft. Win.
Yeah.
Sounds like a plan to me.
I am. You guys love Focus Home Interactive. I don't know why.
I'm not a fan.
I look at their games every day. I scroll past their games in the store. All I see is Elix. Nah, I'm not getting that. I see Vampire.
That was THQ Nordic.
Oh, okay, my bad. I thought that was Focus Home. I don't know, man. I'm just like one of those guys that's like, I have the what's the green goblin creature that be killing everybody?
Sticks.
There you go.
Oh,
My brothers love Sticks.
Yeah,
Sticks is good, man.
I got Sticks 1 and 2. I haven't played it yet. I don't know, man. It's just one of those things where it's like I like Focus Home, I really do, but Focus Home just makes these games that are like they look amazing, like they look like they're going to be great games, and then they come out and they're just like games that should be like $20, but they sell them for $40.
That's why they need the backing. Man. They need the backing and boost the talent. I'm telling you. I just think if the Technomancer would have had the proper animations and the proper backing behind that game, it would have been something special. What they were trying to do with that game is something that you just don't see from most games. Most of the games that we play are rinse and repeat, man. Focus Home is taking the time to put out creative ideas, and you just don't see that much in today's industry.
No. And not only that, they have a loyal, like to the death loyal fan base in Europe. Somewhere Microsoft would do very well to try and expand and take back from Sony.
Microsoft got a ton of studios in Europe at this point, though. They need some studios in the United States.
Not Eastern Europe. What?
In Japan.
Oh.
I'm giving you a migraine.
Look, air's coming out my nose. That's all.
Just saying. Listen, I get it. They need some studios over there. You know who they should buy? The guys who make Metro.
Yes,
That's who they should.
I agree.
That's fine by me.
You know what I'm saying? I like what those guys do with Metro, even though I don't play it. I like what they're doing. I like how Metro Exodus looks.
Yes.
I think it would be a great game to be on the Xbox platform. I really like the feel of it, and I think they would do well if Microsoft was to look at them and maybe made an offer. Focus on Interactive is great. I think it falls in line with what Microsoft want to do with mid-tier games. But man, I just feel like there's so many other studios out there that they could be working with. I guess Focus Home makes sense if you want to get that mid-tier, though. I do agree with that. I know that they're working on a werewolf game, and I'm interested in that as well. I just hope that this one turns out to be really, really special.
You don't want CD Projekt Red?
CD Projekt Red is a huge. That's a whole nother deal. Like that's a whole other deal. Like even as an independent studio, CD Projekt Red is just on another level at this point with the Witcher series, and then what they're doing with Cyberpunk.
Cyberpunk gonna blow this world away, man.
Yeah,
that game should have been. When they showed it at E3, they should have made that game exclusive. I'm sorry. I mean, even though it's just a trailer, we don't know, much of it or gameplay of it. But I mean, when I was like, this game we've been waiting for this for like how long?
Man, I don't think there's an amount of cash any company could dump on CD Projekt. CD Projekt Red, they could roll up with $10 billion and they'd say no. Like Microsoft getting the marketing rights on that was a big enough deal.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like CD Projekt Red is like the Rocksteady of RPGs.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like we know Rocksteady gonna pump out Red Dead, Grand Theft Auto. It's gonna be banging. Everybody gonna gobble it up. It's the same thing. It's like you can't picture Microsoft going out and buying Rocksteady. I can't picture them going out and buying CD Projekt Red. It's just like they're like their RPGs are huge, and people love them both PC. They have their own PC platform and GOG. It's tough. That's a tough sell. Yeah, no, but it's definitely interesting without question. When it comes to Microsoft maybe investing in more a different type of third-party person or a third-party deal where they can bring in their games after a certain amount of time, a half a year, 8 months. After the sales drop or sales die down, you get these games in Game Pass when they're like $29.99. It'd be huge. It would be definitely huge if they were able. Ubisoft should be a studio that they work with.
And that'd be nice. Yeah, that would be.
If they're not going to work with like Focus Home, then I think you should try to get in bed with THQ Nordic. You know what I mean? THQ Nordic has bought up like literally everything. They got all these crazy IPs that they bought up and they say that they're working on. I would get in bed with them early and see what you can work out, because the next couple of years for THQ should be something special too.
THQ Nordic is basically THQ Reborn at this point. They bought back all the assets, all the IPs. They have multiple game dev studios, and they said they're open to acquiring more. So I agree. That's another really good one to try and grab onto early.
Let me jump into this topic real quick while we're hot on Microsoft in studios. Microsoft just bought Compulsion Games. Compulsion has recently released We Happy Few. We Happy Few has not been received well by a lot of people. No one's blaming Microsoft for this game. Obviously, we know the game has been in turmoil over time, and they've had to make changes. And I'm sure the game has improved thanks to early access on the Xbox platform. My question is, should gamers? I don't know if I asked this question already last week or not, but I'm sort of revisiting it because I'm wondering if should Xbox gamers be concerned with Compulsion Games' next project after the release of We Happy Few?
No,
I don't think so.
They see the talent. That's why they picked them up, because they're ex-BioShock devs, and they are in Montreal, which is a growing section for game development. They see an opportunity to grow. You let them recruit, you let them stew, give them the funding, give them the technical guidance they need. In 3 or 4 years, you'll have your own version of Arcane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I see it the same way.
Yeah, because, sorry, I just want to say really quick, you'll notice in all the reviews, whether people liked We Happy Few or not, no one's complaining about the story. No one's complaining about the writing. They're just saying about the bugs. That's fixable. That's stuff that can be improved by growing the studio and, increasing the polish level and things like that.
No doubt. I'm excited for it, man. I honestly don't really care for reviews and things like that. If a game is good based on your own personal taste. I just feel like when the Compulsion Games was announced, I think that was the studio that I was least excited about.
I agree.
Like when we watched the show live in the team up video with NLG, and if you guys want to see our reaction video, you can check it out. It's somewhere in our video streams under Tick. We did the live reactions with the NLG team, who was a Tick affiliate. And again, if you guys don't know, this is the official Tick podcast, not a Tick affiliate show. When we did that show, I was excited for the initiative because me and B talked a million times over and over about them making a new studio. We literally grilled Phil about making a new studio.
I think we kind of gave him the blueprint, man.
We did give him. Listen, we should get a check from Microsoft for everything that we have done.
I agree.
Xbox.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
He was taking notes. I mean, bro, given the recruitment, evidently he's got Daryl Gallagher saying, "Hey, yo."
Bro, we saved Microsoft a ton of money. First of all, we got the Phantom Dust canceled. Okay, so we deserve some money for that. We saved them a ton of money on that as well. Anyway, so my thing though is that I think Microsoft, when they showed everything, I was excited for the initiative. Buying Playground Games was cool because I was like, all right, great. Then it's official. Like, they're probably going to make Fable, and that's dope. When they picked up Undead Labs, I was like, okay, that's a good pickup. It's to be expected though, because Undead Labs had been working with them for such a long time. But my thing was, I didn't want Undead Labs to just continue to make State of Decay, and I think they are the official State of Decay studio, and I get that. But again, they did make another game, even though it wasn't successful, and it was for mobile platforms, unfortunately. But they did attempt another game at one point, and it got canceled. It released, but it failed, so they canceled it. Then you have Ninja Theory, which I thought was an excellent pickup. That was probably the most mind-boggling, biggest thing that I've seen them announce. And when they said they had a fifth studio, I was like, holy smokes, like this is insane. Then they said Compulsion Games, and it was We Happy Few, and I was like, oh, you know what I'm saying? Like my hype level sort of died down, and it's not because of they might not have talent. It just was a simple fact that team from BioShock is so broken up. They're so splintered. Like all these guys went different places, and though they do have talent from them, I'm trying to figure out. I don't really want this studio to continue to make games with that same art style. Like I really want them to branch out, and I get that's their style, but I would hate to see the same type of game over and over and over again. I just want the way they tell stories, the twist, like they'll be like the M. Night Shyamalan of Xbox, but better than his crappy movies. You know what I'm saying? Just much, much better. I want Sixth Sense stuff. I want, Unbreakable split type games. You know what I'm saying? I don't want Lady in the Water or whatever other crap, The Village. Drop that crap. We don't want that. We want the good stuff. So hopefully these guys really show up and show out, and Microsoft supports them by hiring the right devs like they've been doing for these other studios, because, man, if they're able to really, plug these studios up the way they are with the talent they've been producing so far, we should have some great games coming out of these studios in the future. And that's A-okay in my book, honestly. So listen, Ready at Dawn returns to the big screen. They want to make AAA games again, and they are making a new game called, what is it called, Sam? Shattered? You have any idea?
No, you're mixing up Supermassive trademark.
Oh, that's right.
With Ready at Dawn saying they want to make AAA games.
Right. I'm sorry. You're right. I thought that was them. So Ready at Dawn wants to get back into the AAA game mix. They had made an indie game, a smaller game called Deformative. Deformers. There you go. Deformers. And obviously that probably didn't do well. I don't think anybody bought that game. It was a weird, quirky type of game where you play like a giant animal or ball and you splat around all people, which on like an uneven surface. It's cool. It's one of those things. It's like a pick-me-up game, but it didn't pick anybody up, unfortunately, and it probably flopped. Ready at Dawn did some amazing stuff graphically with The Order 1886. It is definitely one of the most impressive games I have ever seen graphically on a platform, especially as early as it was in a generation. To this day, that is probably a top 3 looking game. It is that good, that gorgeous. But the game, for most people, was a walking simulator. And they put so much into the graphics that they didn't make an actual game, at least compared to what most people say. Don't tell Anchor that. Anchor swears by this game like it's the greatest thing. Like, but Bethesda made it. That's why he thinks this game is that good. But anyway, if Ready at Dawn returns, do they go back to the formula of what they initially did with The Order 1886? Or do they branch out into something else? And is there a possibility that Sony or Microsoft picks up the studio?
Oh,
I'm going to be honest. I feel... Sorry, go ahead.
No. I'm just sitting back, just getting my thoughts with it. Go ahead.
No worries. Okay. I'll be honest. Like, I would love to see The Order 1887. B and I have talked about this. Eric and I have talked about it. I think there's a ton of potential there, but I think the opportunity for Sony to do that is sort of slipping away. Mm-hmm. If I'm being, I feel like Order 1886 was their shot at becoming part of the Sony studio lineup, and I feel confident in saying Sony doesn't really care to do anything else with them at this point.
I actually think that they will bring the Order 1887 back.
Oh,
and I think it's actually going to be a next-gen game. I think because the CEO from Ready at Dawn has been talking about how he's been talking to the new leader of PlayStation, John Codera, So there could be a little bit of rumblings there of them possibly doing the sequel. And it's just weird for them to come out and say that they were actually interested in doing a sequel and kind of bringing it back up again. So I think that is a possibility. And Sony is pretty good about giving games a second chance, even though they kind of fell out of the gate. So I wouldn't be surprised if they went that route and try to see if they can, rekindle that flame and bring that game back. I think there's definitely some big improvements they could have made. If they were to add some sort of multiplayer to the game, give it a little bit more in-depth story, I think they could have something special there. I think that the time period and a lot of the character set pieces that they had there were very interesting. And it's definitely something that they could build off of. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Ready at Dawn release a sequel to Order, or just go a different route and release another major third-party game. But only the future will hold this mystery, so we just have to kind of wait out and see.
All right. I mean, I would be on board for it. Make no mistake. I absolutely would love to see it. I'm just sort of pessimistic. But I hope you're right.
I get it. I get it.
I hope you're right.
So what if Sony lets Ready at Dawn slip out their fingers, Microsoft scoops it up, and they put the Order? You think the Order would be made on Xbox?
It can't be, not with that engine, because Sony owns the engine.
Oh, okay.
I think that and I think that the Ready at Dawn guys' next game should be multi-plat. Honestly, I really do. I would hope that they don't make it exclusive after what happened, the way Sony dropped them like a rock. You know what I'm saying? Like they literally they did the same thing with the guys over at Hello Games. I mean, as soon as Hello Games dropped that game and it didn't do well, I mean, they dropped them like a rock. They dropped them bad. And, and I could see the guys working and stuff like that. But some of the things that came out from management over at Sony was sort of like disparaging. I was surprised at some of the things that were said at that time. And same thing for the Order. I don't think they say anything bad about the Order, but they sort of just moved on from them very quickly, And Sony's real cutthroat, man. I kind of respect their that killer instinct of trying to curate the best and the brightest. And if you can't have the best, you just get rid of them. And it's one of the things that as much as I like Phil, and Phil is such a good guy, that might be one of the problems that he has. He's a good guy. You know what I'm saying? That's like one of the few things I'll say about Phil that I think as cool and as awesome as he is as a person, sometimes when it comes to the business side of things, he's just a good guy. Like there was a photo of him sitting in front of a PlayStation building with the PlayStation guys. A lot of people making an uproar about that. And I'm just like, who gives a damn? It's business. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know if a guy from Sony would sit in front of an Xbox, building. I don't know if they would do that because for them, it just really is a competition. This is really how, these guys think and how they act and stuff like that. And that's why a lot of people respect them and they have such a strong and loyal fan base because they cater to that base. Whereas Xbox really wants to try to reach those numbers. So they're trying to be liked by everybody. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you want to cater to everybody because you want those people back. You want the people who left. You want to appeal to everyone. So you try to be as nice as possible, not to rub any feathers because you already have a bad reputation as a company around the world. Like just as Microsoft itself, not even Xbox. This is Microsoft itself from the past. You've had this bad reputation. So you're just trying to be nice so that way you can appeal to everybody. And I'm not sure that always works sometimes, So go ahead.
Can I ask y'all a question for me? Do you think Phil has how can I put this? He focused more on the casuals than the hardcores. Like what I mean by that, as far as the hardcore fan was the ones that stood outside, overnight, whatever, waiting for the next Xbox, whatever. I just think Phil more caters more to the casual and these certain games he's been bringing out and stuff, and I guess it's different. Remember we had Peter Moore and whatnot, you know what I'm saying? And he just made sure we had everything. We had Grand Theft Auto, and, he had that Halo thing tattoo on his arm and all that stuff. But I don't know, Phil just, I don't know. He's with this plug and play anywhere, and yeah, taking Xbox in a different direction. He wants to hold PlayStation's hand, and I'm like, man, I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't know, fellas. I just don't get it. I don't know if y'all can understand what I'm trying to say here, but I just don't get it. Really, I don't.
Sam, you want to take it?
In many ways, I understand where you're coming from. You know what I mean, as
Mhm.
far as the whole Peter Moore thing. But
Right.
I think Phil he's on a different level. You know what I mean? His business sense is
Right.
on a higher level than what Peter Moore was. Even, you know what I mean, where Don Matrick was. You know what I mean? Don Matrick did a lot of great things as far as bringing a lot of advertisements to the
Right.
base. A lot of
Right.
the I mean, if you look at 360 dashboard, it was filled with all type of advertisements from third party companies and things like that. So he brought in the money that way, and
Right.
Phil is just going at a different approach, and I respect him for it. You know what I mean? Um, he's definitely opened up gaming to a wider audience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, there's collaboration with putting their games everywhere. A
Mhm.
lot of the other collaborations they're doing, as far as like with Mixer, and Mixer isn't an exclusive thing to Xbox. You know what I mean, you can stream pretty much any game on there. So he's definitely taken Xbox and the Microsoft to a wider audience that most people probably wouldn't have ever considered. You know what I mean, when you hear Mixer, and it's something from Microsoft, you're like, oh well, they probably only show Xbox games, but you go in there and literally every platform is on there. You know what I mean? So he's doing things on a bigger picture,
Right.
and he's bringing better business sense to the Xbox division, and that's why they put him at that higher seat, and that's why he's able to do some of the things he's done. I mean,
Right.
if you look at last gen, how many studios did they buy? If you look at last gen, they really didn't have many first party studios that put out that many games.
Exactly.
I talk about this a lot, you know what I mean, on the show about, everybody crowns 360 as the best platform, of last gen because of all the crazy games that they had.
Yeah.
But we never really recognized the first party output that they had in 360 because it was very slim to none, especially when compared to this one. You know what I mean? To this gen, that they've put out a lot of games, and they will continue just based on this past E3. So, you really have to tip your cap to what Phil has done and what he's brought to the division, because, like I said, he's on a bigger playing field and has better business sense, in my opinion, than the previous regime.
I agree. I mean,
I
just
agree.
look at the fact
I give you
that
that.
if he wasn't catering to the hardcore,
Right.
and he still has that brutal sense of business and making sure the Xbox crowd gets what it wants. It's just that we're only now seeing it, I think, really unleashed because his hands have been tied for so long, which is
I
an
agree.
ugly fact, but it's one we have to get used to. But if you don't believe what I'm saying, go back and watch the E3 conference again. Look at the smirk on his face before he announces Ninja Theory.
Right.
He knows exactly what he was about to do.
Right.
What's the crazy thing about it all is, like B said, remember how, like I said earlier, I had a conversation with somebody and from Microsoft, a higher up, and they said that this has been the most single player first party output that they've put out in a long time, whether it's actual first party studios or first party publishing. And when you go back and you look at all the games that we love about the Xbox One, the original Xbox and the Xbox 360, none of those games came from Microsoft. No, Ninja Gaiden didn't come from Microsoft.
Nope.
The Mass Effect series didn't come from Microsoft. The Dragon Age, Grand Theft Auto didn't come from Microsoft. The Knights of the Old Republic series, Jade Empire didn't come from Microsoft. None of these games that we love, BioShock didn't come, but they were third-party either exclusives or third-party timed exclusives, and that's what we remember about the platform. But when you look at first party, they've done so much, but it's just that a lot of people sort of crapped on the system because of what they did in the beginning of the generation and announcing it. The whole thing with 24-hour check-ins, the DRM. You had the disaster with the 720p and the resolution gate. And a lot of people just gravitated to PlayStation. And PlayStation had thousands of indie games. I mean, thousands of indie games for the first 2 years. And the output for first party was almost scarce. I mean, there'd be holidays where you would get nothing but indie games.
Right.
or maybe one AAA game and then a bunch of indie games, but you would have these cool indie game, AAA games in the beginning of the generation, and they were no different than Xbox as far as them being sequels. You had the Kill Zones, you had the Uncharted series, of course, you had Bloodborne, you had the Infamous series. A lot of those games were just sequels and coming over from the last generation, and it wasn't until 2017 that things truly picked up. Because that's when you had the Horizon and the Persona, and then all these big titles start coming out, and it really started to blow. And then Gran Turismo at the end of last year as well. So it's just one of those things where it's like I don't think people recognize the output of what Microsoft did in the beginning of the generation and what they've done overall as a party, because one, it has an appeal to them, and two, Sony put out these big giant games late in the generation when it's like, what have you done for me lately? So what have you done for me lately? Society. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like if Microsoft hasn't put anything out within the last year, the only thing you're going to remember is what Sony has put out and what they've been producing. And then you go into this year and they got Spider-Man coming out at the end of the year. Microsoft has Forza, but then no one was excited for Crackdown. Sea of Thieves wasn't received well. State of Decay wasn't received well, but they both have massive numbers from both sales and Game Pass. Even though people tend to neglect it, they weren't rated well. There's a lot of things that play into the perception of Xbox, unfortunately, even though the platform continues to do well every freaking quarter. And it's very surprising. But that's what we're here. We're trying to tell people the truth of really what's happening with the platform and not the sort of messaging that's out there, by fanboys and people who really aren't in tune with the platform. So, he's definitely done an amazing job. It's not easy to try to take something and take over from somebody else, have your arms tied behind your back because of the Windows division, and now finally get unleashed. And now you're starting to see all these things start to fall in place and happen because he now has the power to do these things as a VP. So it's a big deal. And big shout out to Phil Spencer and what he's done with Xbox.
Absolutely. And I'll say this is my last statement on the whole thing. 9 times out of 10, I would much rather them prefer them invest money in new studios and IPs than money having something.
Yes. I agree.
Yeah. So, listen, man, I want to jump into a few more topics before we head out of here and try to do a Q&A with the community. I want to thank everybody for stopping out. Make sure you give us a thumbs up. We appreciate the shares and the likes. It help us reach new Xbox gamers out there on your feeds and your timelines. So thank you for that. I want to talk about Microsoft and Forza. Now, Forza 2 is going to be delisted soon because of the licensing of the music, and I believe, is it some of the cars or just only music?
It's the music.
It's the music? Okay. Well, but the game's going to be delisted soon, which means that if you don't get it soon, you won't ever be able to get it.
Jeez.
And this is one of the things that people are concerned with when it comes to digital gaming. The fear of going all digital is the fear that if you don't get a game when it finally releases as a digital product and it has licenses in it, you will not be able to ever get that game again. I think they just took away the Mickey Mouse game, right? Was it the Mickey Mouse game? Oh man, what's the name of that game? Mickey Mouse Illusion.
Epic Mickey.
Mickey. I think it was
Castle
the first
of Illusion.
Castle of Illusion just got delisted as a digital title. And if you didn't get it when it released, you'll never get it again. And that's the crazy thing about it. Whereas if you have a retail version of it, you can always have it because it's on disc.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, it's not like they're going to be printing more disc either. I mean,
I know,
look at the situation with Too Human. When that got retracted, not only was it pulled from the digital store, but any unsold physical copies had to be retracted and destroyed due to the legal stuff that happened there. That's why the game is so rare. So I don't know. I don't get why people are panicking about this because sure, physical provides more options, but it's not like you're going to be much better off. It's not like they're going to keep making physical versions of the game and not allow you to buy it digitally. I don't know. I don't get that.
People are afraid because when you have a digital product, if you do something negative, you can have your entire library wiped out. I've literally seen people cry about this in groups that they had all these games and they did something wrong and the platform holder just wiped their entire library out. And I guess they had the legal right to do it because they still own the license, because in the copyright, it says you have a license to use, not a license to either resell or remake or interfere with the coding of the game or rebuild or whatever, which is one of the things that people have been doing lately as far as, hacking the game, rebuilding the game, or reselling the game and stuff like that. And you wind up losing those digital games because they're tied to a platform. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're tied to Xbox Live. So if you don't have your Xbox Live account, something may happen, or you might not be able to log in or whatever it is. So it's just one of those things where it's a double-edged sword, I think. But I'm an all digital person. I have no problem with that because I don't have to worry about really getting banned for anything crazy. But the people who I think do have a concern with that have a right to worry. Because if there's something that you really want and you're not able to get it, at least as a console holder, I don't think PC gamers care, because they're PC gamers. They've been doing this digital thing for such a long time. But as a console owner, a lot of people are afraid of the control that they don't have with a digital game compared to a physical.
This is not like a huge issue for me, but like I have lost games that were like delisted just from like last gen. Like a lot of the arcade games, like the Simpsons game and the Ninja Turtles game and Marvel vs. Capcom 2, all those games have been delisted. So like if you don't have those games digitally, you're not going to be able to play them or try to get them physically, because I don't think they released those games physically last gen. But if you didn't download them, you just kind of lost. So I mean, that part of it is a disappointment, but I also think this comes back to gamers always trying to wait and wait and wait and wait to pick up a game. You know what I mean? If you're interested in it, just go ahead and buy it. You know what I mean? Put it in your library. And then that way it's always there. Because, I mean, Forza Horizon 2 has been out for so long. I mean, Forza Horizon 4 is about to come out. So if you didn't get it, oh well. You know what I mean? The game is just free. They literally just gave us the game free last month. Or like,
that's why they're giving it out for free. No doubt.
Right. Like, if you don't got it, oh well. You know what I mean? You didn't want to play it that bad anyway.
Yeah.
No doubt. I feel you on that.
Yeah.
Boy, you got any thoughts on that?
No, not necessary. No, not really. But I agree with B. What he said. Why not? But
Gotcha.
if you didn't get it, hey, that's tough. You have to go to the store. They have to go buy it, or either buy it digitally. One or the other.
Gotcha. So let's jump into this final topic, and then we'll try to do a Q&A. If it's not too late, it's actually the next day. But we'll try to jump into a Q&A for the fans out there that's rocking with us right now. I want to thank everybody for stopping out once again. We had Craig Duncan on the show earlier in the year, right around when Sea of Thieves dropped, the week of actually, and it was an awesome time. But we wind up talking with him about why hasn't Rare made a new platformer. And one of the things he said that was significant to both myself and Sam at the time was that he said that a lot of the guys on the team's focus is Sea of Thieves, which we have no problem with that. I think the key thing that caught us off guard was the fact that he said that they did not have a passion to make the game. And we spoke about this right after we did the interview. And B made a point that if you don't have the passion for a game, you could probably make a bad product. You know what I'm saying? The last thing you want is a bad product made by somebody who don't have passion for the game. So my thoughts are, now that Sea of Thieves is out, should Microsoft get Rare to make a new platformer? Should it be a new IP, or should they revisit an older IP? And should they make it from Rare, or should they look to bring in a studio to start working on new platformers? Because for some apparent reason, platformers are still successful, and Microsoft has very few of them. Mine is Super Lucky Tail, which a lot of people did not like. They are literally the second biggest company with platformers because of freaking Rare. I think people tend to forget all the platformers that Rare has, and they could really go a long way with the platformers and some of the games they have at Rare Studios if they were given the opportunity to probably remake some of these classics. Do you guys think that Microsoft should allow Rare to dibble back into some of their older IPs and rebuild them, or maybe get a new studio and have them bring back some of these IPs and either remaster or recreate them from scratch?
I wouldn't mind if they just take a small team give me Banjo 1 and 2. Give it the remake treatment similar to what they did with the Ratchet and Clank game for PlayStation. Just give me that, you know what I mean? Updated graphics, higher resolution. And I think a lot of people would be happy with that. You know what I mean? If the team still isn't really passionate about, you know, doing platformers or want to revisit like old games, then I really wouldn't force them to. But if they still have that passion to work on platformers, then just create a new one. You can only, you know, go back to the well so many times. So, you know what I mean? Give us some new ideas, put it out there and see how the fans react to it. They don't necessarily have to, you know, give me something from back in the day. I mean, we are getting Battletoads, even though it's not being made by them. I think, you know, the people who are super interested in that will revisit that. And I think, you know, just a remake of, you know, one of their old platformers would be fine. And it doesn't have to be the entire team working on it.
Can be Perfect Dark. Next generation graphics, like just that cartoon style stuff. No, like Sea of Thieves and all that. I don't care for anything like that. But I mean, I let a new studio do it. You know what I mean, I wouldn't want Rare to, you know, mess that IP up. Basically, you know, I'll just make it say third person, basically. You know what I mean? Said next generation. If you want, just make her thorough. Just give her weapons and all that, whatever. Just make the game nice. You know what I mean? But Rare, I just rather get a new studio, like you said, a small team. You know what I mean? Gonna work on the game, whatnot, and that's it. I mean, I don't know anything. I mean, they have some other games, but and for me though, Perfect Dark would stand out more than ever.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm looking forward to a new Perfect Dark. Hopefully, we get an announcement there. I don't think it'll be coming from Rare, but it would be nice to see.
Right.
Now, that said, in regards to the platformers, I'll co-sign what B said. Just have a small team do a remake of Banjo. That's all you need. You don't even need a new game. Just the Ratchet and Clank treatment. That's all you got to do.
I agree.
I would love for them to go further back. I feel like Microsoft has all these little games that they could remake. Like the whole Rare Replay thing opened up my eyes to so many things that they did. Like they did a ton of games. And if they still own the licenses for most of these games, they should definitely reboot some of these franchises and the classics. That little RC racing game from back in the day reminds me so much of Rock and Roll Racing. It'd be cool to bring something like that back. I already talked about a new Saberwolf game. I even laid out my whole entire plan for a new Saberwolf game and spoke to Craig Duncan about it. So if you ever see that game pop up, that was me. I also think that they should. I think that Microsoft should work on Perfect Dark. Me and B have spoken with Ken Lobb about what they should do with Perfect Dark. It is definitely something that is not something I think they should make first person. A lot of people still want it to be first person. I feel like it should be like a combo of like Metal Gear Solid 2, where you kind of had like a first person action, but third person action, but first person down sight shooting, which was really cool back in the day on Metal Gear 2. I remember playing like that. I think, Metal Gear 2 was like that. I agree. Maybe a small studio comes in and reboots Banjo and Conquer. Even though Conquer, they feel like Conquer wouldn't survive today in the world that we are in because everything is so PC. It's kind of hard to put a Conquer out there nowadays. But definitely a new Banjo would work. A new Cameo would work. I think those franchises would do really well if they were able to bring those back. So we don't know. Hopefully they do. I feel like Microsoft has all these IPs that they sit on, and we don't see them. People are out here begging for Mech Assault, and we can't get a goddamn robot to get put on a disc. It's very frustrating to not get these games that Microsoft has. So hopefully we see more of it, and they put more effort into it going into the future. So we'll see how it all pans out. But yeah, Microsoft definitely has a lot on their hands. So listen, man, that's going to be it for tonight's show. I want to thank everybody for stopping out. We got a few guests coming up, some interviews that we're going to be chatting. We're going to do a catch-up show with the guys from Ceridium Digital, and those are the guys who are making Lost Pisces. If you guys don't remember the Lost Pisces series, we had a conversation with these guys 2 years ago, and they're making a game about this character named Pisces, and it's based off of the original story of the Little Mermaid. And basically, the Little Mermaid in this original story doesn't have a soul, and that's what she wants. This isn't the Disney version of the Little Mermaid where she wants to walk on land and meet a man. This is completely different. But it's like a combination of like tower defense, because all the characters and villains in the games are these towering monsters, like in Shadow of the Colossus, and they're all different. Like the different signs, like the Scorpio, the Capricorn, and the Taurus. Each one of them are trying to destroy Pisces in her world. And it's up to you as Pisces' friend to help her fight and destroy these creatures. So we're going to do a catch up with them sometime either at the end of the month or the beginning of September. So look out for that. And I got something special for you guys. Guess who I'm going to have on the show?
Who are we going to have?
Spencer.
No, I wish.
Oh, okay.
I wish Phil would come back on the show. Phil is so big. Phil is like, Phil is like the girl who went from being, not popular to being popular and hanging out with the popular kids now, and it's just hard to be her friend. That's kind of like Phil. Phil's like so high up in VP now. It's so hard to get him to do anything outside of the major companies, or if you don't catch him at an event. So definitely tough to get him on. But I've been working my magic with a few other people. But no, nobody from Xbox. I'm actually gonna have Drew Capturing on the show. If you don't know who Drew Capturing is, Drew is the writer for Knights of the Old Republic. He is the writer for Mass Effect, and he is also the writer for Anthem. And we're going to have him on the show, and we're going to talk about all the things that he had written and how he come up with the concepts of the stories that we know and love from these great games from Xbox past, and of course Anthem coming up in the future. So I'm very excited to have him on the show. As a writer myself, it is definitely one of the most awesome guys that I've been able to get to come on the show coming up sometime in the future. And you guys can keep out a date, keep an eye out for a date for that interview. It should be sometime next month. So we're going to go ahead and end the show. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the chat. Leave a question mark behind it. We'll probably do 5 or 10 minutes because it's really late. I want to thank everybody for stopping out. Make sure you give us a thumbs up. I'm your host, Kerwin SKL with B Money 101. Diary Will 484. Shout out to Anchorman V. And thank you to our guest, Will, for stopping out and hanging out with the team tonight. And we're off this planet. See you guys next week. Peace. All right. Oh, man, I want to thank everybody for stopping out once again. Big shout out to Chief Tommy, Jose Segura, Elite, obviously, Edge, XL, Joe Sinister, Dash. We had iDizzy in here earlier. Mike D, big shout out to Mike D, Joe Sinister, I said already. God of Games 100, PC Gaming. Hey, I've been checking out PC Gaming. He's been hitting us up a lot lately. Thank you, brother, for stopping out and supporting the channel. Zach Karim, hey brother, glad you could make the show. Thank you for stopping out. DMV Fam 123, thank you for stopping out as well. Let's see here. Trying to catch a few other people. Jason Elliott, thank you for stopping out, brother, as always, for the support. Halo Storm, thank you for stopping out. Foul Davikin, my brother, thank you for stopping out as well. Irrelevant Native, thank you for stopping out and supporting the channel. And supporting the podcast. Eternal Shaddai, thank you for stopping out as well. And anybody else that I missed, man, I just want to thank you for the support. Super Cooper, thank you for stopping out. I appreciate the support as always. So listen, man, I can't say enough to the people out here who listen and watch the channel. If you want to catch the show, if you miss an episode, you can catch us on iTunes, Google Music, or Spotify. Just look up TIC Podcast. And if you want the other shows, Multiverse, 2XP, or the Iron Lord podcast, you can catch them on TIC Network on iTunes and Google Music. Let's see what we have for questions so far. Foul Davikin asks, out of Xbox's first-party studios, what's a dream game that you would like them to make?
Oh,
Not everybody at once. It's fine.
Me personally, I just want a Western RPG like Mass Effect. I want a game that gives you choices, not like not like Fable. But as a sci-fi guy and a fantasy guy, I would want something more serious like Witcher or more Star Trek-y, Star Wars-ish like Mass Effect. But the choices that you make have an impact on both the storyline, the characters, and it has a big twist at different points of the game. That's what I want from Microsoft, because Microsoft does so well with Western RPGs like that. Games like Skyrim, Elder Scrolls, Fallout, the Mass Effect series, Dragon Age, they do amazingly well with Western RPGs because of the platform. And really, a lot of people associate Microsoft with PC. So it's cool that a lot of the PC style games hit the platform and it's kind of familiar. Whereas PlayStation is really known for Japanese RPGs. I feel like Microsoft has an opportunity to truly be known for Western RPGs, and I really wish they would make more of them. This is one thing that I told Phil when I had a chance to speak with him a while ago.
Yeah, I agree. Mine would probably be some sort of RPG. Any game with deep RPG elements is a game that I'll be a fan of. I really want to get away from every game pretty much having guns in it. So give me something with a sword or bow and arrow or axe or something like that. Give me some different combat options, and then I'll be definitely down for that. So anything like that, I'd be super interested in.
I was actually going to say an RPG, but instead of Mass Effect, I'm thinking something like Dragon Age Origins. High fantasy concept with some dark twist, good character writing, strong band of companions, classic tale. Lots of nice little plot twists, and throw in some sword and sorcery. You got me.
There you go. Right. All RPGs is what we agreed on.
Yeah.
Right. Joe Sinister asks, do you guys think that the video game industry should take game preservation a bit more seriously? Games being delisted, publishers cracking down on emulation, many arcade games never got home releases.
Yeah, I would say so. This is definitely something that it's a big issue for me. I'm big on game preservation. That's why I'm happy with what Xbox has been doing with back compat and stuff like that. It annoys me to see emulator sites shut down and things like that, because we can't pretend games are works of art and then turn around and deny people in the future the ability to play them and things like that. And I'm not saying there's a perfect answer on how to handle some of this stuff, because the publishers is just doing what they have to. Legal issues, they have to take stuff down. I'm not mad with them. I just definitely think we need to put care into preserving them in some fashion. But that's a complicated subject.
Video games are history. They really are. It's one of the few mediums that we have that is interactive and it can be art at the same time. Like Hellblade should be in a museum because it's such an innovative game in the way they've done it. I have not seen or heard a game that has been built like that in the way they use spatial audio. It is absolutely insane, and I think that that is the type of game that you want to really preserve, because it's sort of game changing if more games use things like that. I think Forza Horizon 4 could be game changing with their season system, honestly. And we talk about this all the time about how Microsoft should have these studios cross over. Could you imagine playing Fable one week and the whole week is fall? And then the next week, the whole game is winter and everything changes. New monsters come out, creatures come out. The path that you used to take is no longer there. Like, that would be game changing for a game. People will adapt that. Like, just crazy. Not even so much like, oh, you were in an area that was, it was nice. Now you move to the mountains and now it's snow. No. Forget that. You were in the village yesterday, and like next Saturday, the whole village is covered in ice and snow and people have coats on. Like, you got to take it to the next level. And that is potentially game changing in the industry. When people are looking for things to really make things more innovative, those are the type of things that you want to see. We have dynamic weather systems. We don't have dynamic seasons. And I think that would be really awesome to put into games.
Yeah, I think that's probably gonna be the next evolution for gaming. I think we have been so used to just playing like these one-off games for so many generations, and now more and more developers and publishers want you to play their games for longer periods of time. And I think if more of them implement that seasons, it'll definitely change the dynamic of the game. It'd be more like an MMO where it's constantly changing. And I think that's something that we want from games as gamers. I mean,
Right.
we put a lot of investment in so many of these games. We play them for hundreds of hours. What I mean, to see that type of different changes and have it affect the way you play the game could definitely be a game changer and something that could really spark next gen, I think.
I agree.
Absolutely. I cannot wait to see what Playground does with their RPG.
I can't even imagine. I'm hype already. Not Joe Sinister. Chief Tommy asks, "What do y'all think about what's his name face? What's his name face? Right, leaving Dice in the middle of Battlefield 5. Sorry, I can't remember his name.
So Patrick Soderlund. So he actually wasn't at DICE technically anymore. He was in charge of EA's Worldwide Studios, among other things. Suspect. That's what I'll say. It's suspect. But Patrick, at the same time, Patrick had been there for a while. Maybe he felt it was time to move on. I don't know. I'm really not going to speculate too much off of things that we don't have inside info on. I will very cautiously say that EA knows they have a certain reputation, and they might be wanting to change that reputation. We'll see.
Gotcha. I know nothing about this whatsoever, honestly, and I'm thinking about picking up Call of Duty. I really am thinking about picking up Call of Duty. So I don't know.
He got that check, man. He got up out of there, man.
It's just abandoned ship.
Yeah.
Is Battlefield 5 going to be bad or something?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so. I just think that a lot of people got a chance to play Call of Duty first, and everybody's hype on it because it's Black Ops, and it kind of gets you back into that futuristic feel a little bit. Yeah. Whereas Call of Duty is old school World War II and everything. People always gripe about something, man. Gamers are the most finicky people in the world, in my opinion.
Right.
They switch up so quickly. It's tough.
DICE hasn't been listening to Battlefield players for a long time anyway.
Gotcha.
We wanted Bad Company 3 for the longest time, and they were kind of like teasing it, and everybody thought the announcement was going to be for Bad Company 3, and then they hit us with this Battlefield 5 or whatever. And I mean, it's cool, but like we need to go back to the modern era, and hopefully the next Battlefield is Bad Company 3 because that's what everybody wants.
Right. Foul Davikin asks, would you guys take a job at Xbox, and if so, what dream position would you like?
Oh man! Wow!
You already know. You already know what I'm gonna say.
Give me
Just
the
put
game
me in charge
department.
of first party, man.
Yes, yes, indeed, yes.
I'll tell you what. I will accept B being in charge of first party if B puts me in charge of 343 and we get that Halo RPG going. How's that?
Most definitely. Hey,
B, can I work underneath you? Because that's what I'll be. First part. Definitely.
Now, because he said that I got to change my position. I got to be in charge of Xbox so I can stop this Halo RPG from happening. No, this RPG cannot happen. You're fired for even thinking of a Halo RPG.
Man.
No. I want to be a creative director, man. I have an amazing idea for a game that I don't want to talk about. I don't want to give this away because I think this is a golden idea. And I'm turning it into a book first. This is my plan. This is this is exactly what I'm doing. This is my plan. I have this massive universe that I've worked on for 16 years. I'm going to make the first chapter of this massive universe into a book. After the book releases, I'm going to start working on the second book. Once the first book releases, the second book is a bit different from the first and is actually the type of book that can be turned into a show. But I want to take that first story and I want to get first of all, I have to get a literary agent. After I get the literary agent, I got to find another agent that allows me to talk to publishers in both TV and entertainment and gaming. And I want to pitch this idea to the Xbox team. And I know they don't take ideas like this, but I think if they read the story, understand what's happening with the overall story and plot, I think they will love it. I think they will love it. And I mean, it is on some, I don't want to say Final Fantasy-ish, but it's like it's a book where everything interconnects and yet every story is massively different. Like massively different. But it all interconnects, and the way it interconnects is really, really crazy, but it's dope and it's huge. And I would love to just be a creative director and be able to pitch this idea and make this happen. I think it would be an amazing experience for Xbox gamers personally. And that's just me because I'm an RPG head, and that's my own personal opinion because I'm biased, but I think it would be huge. But in the meantime, as head of Xbox, no Halo RPGs. Now, with that being said, let's see if we can get a few more questions in and then head on out of here. Dash asks, with the recent studio acquisitions that Microsoft announced at E3, which one has the best potential to make that next killer IP that will help eliminate the no quality exclusive narrative away?
Ninja Theory.
I think Initiative has it.
Initiative.
Because I think they're probably going to be the biggest and the most marquee of those acquisitions. I think at some point, the Initiative could be the best studio that Microsoft has.
Agreed.
But I think out the gate, Ninja Theory has it because they have produced such quality games anyway. They just kind of fly under the radar. But Hellblade is definitely a perfect example of what they've been doing for a very long time. And I think it's one of the few chances that people get to see them kind of create some of their own IP and see what they can do on their own. So I think out of the gate, Ninja Theory is going to do something special. So definitely keep your eyes peeled for that.
Definitely.
Right. Zach Karim asks, Cal, do you think it would be a perfect time for Microsoft to bring back some of their Gen 1 canceled games like StarCraft Ghosts, BC, True Fantasies? Those had great ideas. I think True Fantasy would have been great to bring back. Like an MMO built on live would be huge. Not some third-party MMO, but I think Microsoft making their own MMO would be humongous. Maybe they're testing the waters with Sea of Thieves. Any thoughts on that, guys?
I always thought Fable could have been a great MMO. I thought that they had the foundation there to kind of build it and make it, built for multiple players. There's just potential there. So
sure,
I wouldn't mind them doing an MMO, but I think it would have to be something stand out. I think there's way too many MMOs out right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there's a reason World of Warcraft is still on top after all these years.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Microsoft should definitely revisit some older IPs that got canceled. Obviously, we all want Scalebound. I mean, if you're gonna bring back a canceled game, Scalebound has to be number one.
Yes.
You want to talk about the drama with Scalebound? It was like Xbox cheated on every single Xbox gamer. It was like Xbox was the baddest girl in high school, and she cheated on you with the worst dude you could imagine. Like, this dude is not better than me. Why are you with him? You know what I'm saying? That's how people were reacting. It was that insane. But they should definitely revisit, if they do get an opportunity to revisit a canceled game, that and maybe a few other classics might be interesting in the future. We'll see, man. It is definitely something that they should definitely consider. I agree. They should definitely consider that without question. I think that's it. That is definitely it. So listen, man, I want to thank everybody for coming out. I want to thank everybody for hanging out with us. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the Q&A. Once again, if you're looking for the Inner Circle podcast and you don't miss our shows live and you don't want to listen to it on YouTube, you can subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Music, or Spotify. I'm definitely going to see if I can get us on iHeartRadio as well. We have built a great base in those mediums, and I'm very proud of that. And being on Spotify was a huge achievement for us and the team. Make sure you support Tick Games Network. The guys work extremely hard over there. They are working on some fantastic content, great reviews, as well as some interviews and some things coming up. So make sure you support Tick Games Network and follow Tick Games Network on Twitter. If you want to get the best content early, often, in the latest rumors as well, because guys like IGN like to steal your reviews and people, and other websites like to force you to put people in streams that you don't want to put in your stream. We don't care about none of that. We just want to report video game news. We don't care about the politics. We're just gamers, and we want to talk about gaming and entertainment. So make sure you support us there. Tomorrow, Iron Lord Podcast will be live. I believe they have a special guest coming on there. I think it's the head of Xbox Live.
Indeed, he is Mr. Dan McCulloch himself. Awesome dude. I got to meet him at E3.
Awesome. So make sure you guys check out Iron Lord Podcast tomorrow morning around 1 p.m. I believe Multiverse returns on Monday. Don't you guys?
Yes, I believe so.
Might be at the end of the month, actually.
I honestly don't remember. I'll check in with Anchor.
Multiverse will be coming in soon as well. Make sure you guys look out for Multiverse on Mondays. And 2XP is now live on the channel as well every Wednesday, I believe, at 8 p.m. So listen, man, that's going to be it for tonight's show. I want to thank everybody for stopping out. I'm your host, KLR SKL, with Anchorman V, Direwolf 484, and our special guest, Will, which we greatly appreciate for stopping out and hanging out with us tonight. And we are off this planet. You guys have a great night. We'll see you next week. Peace out.